Hi, this is Gabe at fluentforever.com. In these 3 videos, I'm going to show you the bare essentials for phonetics and spelling for Hungarian. If you're using one of my pronunciation trainers, don't worry about memorizing this stuff. The trainer will do that for you. Just watch and pay attention. Everything you see here will show up sooner or later within the trainer. I'll be going through Hungarian using the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA. This lets us simplify our discussion a lot, since I only need to talk about around 30 symbols, many of which you know already, instead of trying to wade through around 150 spelling rules. So, let's get started. We'll break this up into 3 parts. The first will talk about Hungarian's consonants, the second will cover the vowels, and the third will cover a few of Hungarian's spelling rules. And just so that we're really accurate with our examples, I have a native speaker here, Adrienne, who will be helping us out.
Hi.
Hungarian has 29 consonants. If you speak English, 18 of these are familiar sounds. 4 will be slightly modified versions of familiar sounds, and 7 will be really new. We'll be starting with 10 really straightforward sounds in IPA symbols.
There's B as in but, F as in fa, G as in gape, H as in ho, M as in malno, N as in nodrag, S as in sem.
One thing I want to point out here, that S sound is spelled SZ in Hungarian. Hungarian actually uses a lot of 2 or even 3 letters to make certain sounds, and it treats those letter combinations as single consonants.
This isn't zem, it's sem, starting with a single s consonant. Next, there's the combination sound ts, as in cukor.
And here you'll notice that this pair of sounds in IPA is spelled with just 1 letter in Hungarian, a C.
There's v as in vödör and z as in zebra.
Our next 6 consonants are going to sound familiar, though they'll have unfamiliar IPA symbols.
This symbol, which looks like a lowercase j, is Hungarian's y as in jégcsap, or English's yard. Then comes zh as in Hungarian's zseb, or in English beige.
In IPA, the zh sound looks like the top half of a Z with a little loop hanging off of it. Zh. You can also combine that sound with a D to form
J as in dschungel, or English jungle.
Our next couple of sounds are similar.
There's sh as in Hungarian's sho, or English's shoe.
In IPA, it's a tall, scripty S.
Then there's the combination ch as in Hungarian's csillag, or English's cheese. Our last familiar sound is ng as in kangaroo, or English's king.
It's an N made with your tongue raised up in the back of your throat. At this point, we can move on to some consonants that are modified versions of familiar English sounds. We'll start with what looks like a D and a T.
There's d as in dob and t as in tol. If you're comparing these consonants in English and Hungarian, you can say D and D.
If you pay close attention, you may notice that in English, the very tip of your tongue hits the alveolar ridge, that ridge right behind your front upper teeth.
D, D.
But in Hungarian, the tip of your tongue flattens out a bit, so that the tip of your tongue actually touches your upper teeth, and the blade of your tongue, that part right behind the tip, that touches your alveolar ridge.
This gives you a less percussive sound. You get D instead of D. D, D.
It's exactly the same for Hungarian's T.
Instead of T's, you get T's. And that puff of air you get when you say T's is also gone. T's.
So let's move on to 2 more consonants that also don't have big puffs of air in Hungarian.
We have P as in pipa and K as in cape.
For both of these consonants, the difference between English and Hungarian is all about that puff of air.
This example is a little silly, but in English there's PP, and in Hungarian there's pipi, PP, pipi. Same with K in English. We have ki, K, ki. In Hungarian, ki, ki.
We have one more modified consonant, and that's the Hungarian L.
L as in low.
It's a familiar symbol in IPA. It's a lowercase l, but it sounds a bit different from the L in English. In English, when we say a word like leak, the back and front of your tongue both come up towards the roof of your mouth. Leak. But in Hungarian, only the tip of your tongue comes up. and it reaches just behind your front upper teeth.
Leek. English has leek. Hungarian, leek.
Next, we're going to cover 7 new consonants in Hungarian. We'll start with the Hungarian R. It uses the familiar-looking lowercase r as its symbol in IPA, and it's known as the trilled R.
It sounds like r, as in repa.
For this consonant, your tongue goes right up against your alveolar ridge. It softens a little bit to allow air to come through, and as that air comes through, it vibrates your tongue up and down against that ridge. Rrr. There are a lot of tricks to producing this consonant, which you can find all over YouTube. The best one I've heard so far for pronouncing this consonant is to think the phrase Prince of Prussia while you're saying Prince of Prussia. You're going to replace those R's with D's. And then you kind of play around until your tongue starts to cooperate. Prince of Prussia, Prince of Prussia, Prince of Prussia, Prince of Prussia. And this can take weeks, honestly, even months. This thing can be a bit of a pain to get right. Anyway, our next 4 consonants are all in the same place in your mouth, right in the middle at your hard palate, where you say y, as in you or yawn.
We'll start with the nasal ny, as in nyar.
This is written like a combination of a lowercase n and j, and the International Phonetic Association chose that symbol for a reason. If you recall, the y sound we were talking about was written in IPA as a lowercase j, and for that consonant, you raise the middle of your tongue towards the roof of your mouth, y. For this consonant, it's the exact same motion, but the middle of your tongue doesn't just move towards the roof of your mouth, y, it actually touches it, stopping the airflow and forcing the air to come out of your nose.
Ny, ny. You get that quick y sound at the end as soon as your tongue moves on to pronounce the next vowel, nyar.
Our next 2 consonants will probably sound pretty unfamiliar.
There's ch, as in chug, and j, as in jar.
These 2 consonants do the exact same tongue motion as ny. The middle of your tongue raises up and stops the flow of air. But now you're not going to let air come out of your nose.
It's not anya, it's acha.
And so the sound and the air are just going to stop for a moment.
At,
Until you lower your tongue, and the air pops through.
cha, acha. So the first one of these consonants is ch, as in chug or kucha.
And the second one is the same. The only difference is that your vocal cords will be buzzing at the same time,
giving you a j sound, as in jar or jerek.
If you want to compare these sounds to similar ones in English,
you can try chookies versus chookies. Chookies, chookies. And for j, you can try g versus g. G, g.
we have 3 consonants left, and they're all special versions of Hungarian's H. That consonant can change a bit depending upon what vowels are around it, generally to make it easier and faster to pronounce. These are uncommon sounds in Hungarian. We're getting into some really nitpicky detail, but since we've already done so many sounds, we might as well cover everything. Our first special version of H is right back in the position of y, ny, and y.
It's h, as in technika.
It uses the symbol of a C with a little tail on it. You take the tongue position of a y, as in you, where the middle of your tongue is near the roof of your mouth, and then you bring your tongue up even further, almost pushing against the roof of your mouth, and then you just sort of squeeze air through that space, making a hissing sound.
Technika.
This sound shows up when you get an H that comes after a front vowel like E or E.
Our next version of H is h, as in potro.
This vowel shows up when you have an H that comes after a back vowel like U or O. To make this sound, bring your tongue up near where you'd say K, but instead of touching your soft palate with the back of your tongue, just get close to the soft palate and let air squeeze by.
That gives you potro.
Our last special version of H occurs when you have an H surrounded by 2 vowels.
This is h, as in éhes.
The only real difference between this sound and the H you know already is that this one has your vocal cords buzzing. Basically, you're going to make a really, really breathy vowel sound, instead of no sound at all. Really, it's just a particularly sloppy H.
Since it's surrounded by buzzing vowel sounds, you just keep buzzing all the way through it, éhes, making that H a little less distinct than it otherwise would be if you said something like éhes.
And so with that, we've covered all of Hungarian's consonants. We have one last thing to discuss before we review, and that has to do with double consonants. We'll start with an example.
The Hungarian word for goes, as in he goes, is megy.
Now, Hungarian has a second word, very similarly spelled.
which is the word for a type of sour cherry, megy. So we have megy and megy.
And you'll see that indicated in the IPA with a colon-looking thing coming after the doubled consonant. That symbol means you should pronounce the previous sound extra long. To make a good-sounding double consonant in Hungarian, you start the consonant. You'll sit there for a moment and then finish it. For many consonants, that means there's going to be a silent moment in the middle of the word.
Átja, függés, géppel.
And for some others, it means you're going to be sitting there, humming or trilling or whatevering for a moment.
As in len, várra, hasson.
Learning to accurately hear and pronounce when Hungarian consonants are single and short or doubled and long, that is a huge part of good Hungarian pronunciation. And so now we can review. We began with a bunch of consonants with familiar sounds and familiar IPA symbols.
There was b as in bot, f as in fa, g as in gép, h as in hó, m as in málna, n as in nadrág, s as in szem, c as in cukor, f as in vödör, and z as in zebra.
We then covered 6 consonants with familiar sounds and unfamiliar IPA symbols.
There was y as in jégcsap, zh as in zseb, j as in dzsungel, sh as in só, ch as in csillag, and ng as in kenguru.
After those consonants, we went over some sounds that were a bit different than what you're used to from English.
We began with d as in dob,
This is a d made with your tongue touching your front teeth.
dob, and t as in toll.
A T made in that same spot without a big puff of air.
We then had p as in pipa and k as in cape.
Both of which also didn't have big puffs of air. And last, we covered Hungarian's L,
L as in low,
which was made using only the front of your tongue. Finally, we went over several new sounds. There was Hungarian's rolled R.
r as in repa.
This was an R made in the same spot in your mouth as a D sound.
Then came ny as in nyár.
This was an N made with the middle of your tongue against the roof of your mouth. We then covered 3 more consonants in that same spot.
There was the voiceless ch as in tyúk, and then the voiced j as in gyár.
Both of these were made with the middle of your tongue actually touching the roof of your mouth and for a moment preventing any air from going through. Our last 3 consonants were 3 special versions of Hungarian's H.
There was sh as in technika, made in the same spot as nyár and tyúk.
Just this time you're letting some air through.
There was h as in potroh,
This one was made at the back of your tongue in a K position,
k,
but letting a bit of air through,
ch. And last we had h as in éhes.
which is basically just a really breathy vowel sound or a really, really sloppy, indistinct H.
Finally, we talked about double consonants, which can differentiate words like megy from megy.
And you can find that in the IPA by looking for a colon-looking symbol, which tells you to lengthen the previous sound. And with that, we are through with video 1. In our next video, we'll talk about Hungarian's vowels.